Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy, sounds like he's probably in his 30s, military, and he shares his story about the absolute chaos this guy went through with his last relationship to lead him down the path of the R pill. This guy was the bluest of the blue pill guys, and let me tell you, my hand is going to be so sore from smacking this dude at the end of the story, I can't even tell you. Alright, because obviously I read this story when I was having lunch today. And this guy goes through an absolute hell of a lot to get to the point where he is. And now he's finally at a place that he's learned, doing well, on his path, on his purpose, kicking butt. And he's sharing this story where he's definitely going to get a lot of crap in the comment section. And it's warranted, believe me, to help you guys know what not to do with the girls and all that type of thing. But what's interesting, and you're going to see in the story early on, is in the beginning, he does everything right. When he meets this girl, early on in the dating process, everything like that, he handles it right, and of course she's drawn to him and behaves accordingly. But the second he starts caving and letting himself get pee-whipped and her call the shots in the relationship, that's it, it's over. And he stays with her with all this drama and BS and testing and gaslighting, all that type of stuff. And this story is going to show you guys, as I say all the time, you have to have self-worth. You have to stand up for yourself. When she, your girlfriend, or dating, a gal you're dating, or anybody takes advantage of you, you have to stand up for yourself and check them on their bad behavior and be willing to walk away immediately when things aren't the way you want them to be in the relationship, when the boundaries are crossed or whatever. Disrespect is shown, and if you don't, that's going to be perceived and well received as weakness. And typically the gals will either break up with you, cheat on you, or they'll stay with you, cheat on you, and keep throwing more nasty tests, essentially to punish you until you act like a man and put them in their place. I kid you not. Lots and lots of lessons in the story, and I think you guys will definitely enjoy this one. And again, stick around to the end, and our guy, even as much as we want to smack him, and we'll smack him, will learn his lesson, and he'll end on a high note. He says, Dear SSM, I've debated about sending you my story for a very long time, almost 2 years, because it's not as crazy as some of the other stories you read on here. For a long time, I didn't think it was worth writing out. I wrote it several times, then scrapped it, but after watching your channel for so long, I realized it might be the ultimate therapy session for me. Bro, so many guys say that. Just writing it out really makes them feel good and better, and knowing that they can get some feedback from other guys that have been in that situation. What you're doing is a service, helping guys out. Even though you're going to share stories that often going to get you a smack from me or give me some shit in the comment section, but it's what you got to do, and I appreciate it. I need to get it out, and not every story you share on your channel is insane. Some are just really good learning opportunities for men trying to navigate women and relationships today. This is a story of my own disgrace. I was a blue-pilled man as could be, and it's definitely embarrassing recounting it. Bro, the first step to recovery is admitting you got a problem, and that's what you've done. Man, I got sirens, I got lawnmowers, I got leaf blowers. The universe does not want me to film today, but damn it, I'm going to do it. You live in Florida, there's always going to be somebody mowing lawns and using leaf blowers, and just sirens follow me anywhere. Anyway, I'm venting. As I write this out, I'll be delivering my own smacks, though I feel free to give me some good ones should I miss any. You can count on that. At this point, I'm as RP'd as they come, and I can handily identify everything I did wrong. Additionally, I'll talk about some of the women I dated before the one featured in this story. It's been a long road of betrayal and disappointment. Obviously, all the names in this story are fake. I'm a 31-year-old male. The subject is my ex, a 25-year-old woman named Maya. I met Maya at a massive turning point in my life. In 2020, as I just secured a hefty suitability waiver to re-enlist into the military. Long story short, I enlisted in 2011, and due to a series of poor decisions, landed myself kicked out and barred from re-enlistment. It took almost 9 years to secure my waiver, and a lot of hard work, but being a soldier was and still is my dream. Dude, what the hell did you do? I was several weeks from shipping out to re-attend basic training. The Army's policy on prior service entails that if you've been out of the military for over 5 years, you must go through basic training again. That sucks. I was what was known as a glossary prior service, meaning I never acquired a MOS, military occupational specialty, during my previous time in the military, and never finishing training, so this would be a complete do-over for me, no special privileges. I was at a restaurant with some friends, and Maya was our waitress. This was during the COVID years, so she was wearing a mask, but just being able to see her eyes, I could tell she was very pretty. One of my buddies told me to get her number as a dare, but I was maybe a month away from leaving and already had a friends with benefits situation with a gal, no strings attached, and didn't want any distraction before embarking on my path. Well, if it was just you had a friends with benefits already, and this girl hookup material, if it's casual and you're safe about it, then who cares? And honestly, since you already have a friends with benefits, you'd probably be more relaxed and natural because you don't care with this one because you got a friends with benefits, whatever you want. Just you shouldn't be getting attached before you go back to the basic training. At some point, I got up to take a leak, and when I came back, my buddy told me that the waitress had been asking about me. Suddenly, I decided, why the hell not? And I'm just leaving my number on the receipt. I didn't even tip her 20%, and me and my friends went about our day. I forgot about Maya and didn't expect to hear from her. The next morning, I woke up to text from her. I know, very country song or storybook. The tactic had never worked before, so you can imagine I was fairly surprised. We set up a time to meet at my favorite bar about 5 days after she texted me. I didn't text her or talk to her at all during those 5 days. I just continued hitting the gym and stayed on my grind. See, that's what you're supposed to do. I bet you she was used to guys bombarding her with texts and phone calls and any way to communicate and chat with her. You know, you didn't give a shit. That's the whole point. You already had your friends' benefits. You know you're leaving soon, so it was like, hey, whatever. And you really didn't expect her to reach out to you. So you planned your date, and you went back to business, your grind, and that's that. So you were doing things right initially. The day of the date came, and it actually went very well. I did things you recommend, although I didn't know your channel existed at the time, such as only buying her 1 or 2 drinks and keeping it very casual. There you go. You're doing great. As the night went on, she told me she was headed off to a party and invited me to come along with her. Again, I figured, why not? I might end up getting laid. So I went with her. I did indeed end up getting lucky with Maya that night, and we decided to see each other again a few days later. At that point, I only had about 3 weeks left. So immediately, if she's hooking up with you on the first date, and that's great and all, that ain't girlfriend material to me. That's another friends with benefits. It's just what I've learned over time. He says, now get ready to smack me real good, SSM. Okay, bro, my hand is ready. Me and Maya hung out a lot, almost a week straight. While I was at her apartment, she brought up the idea of dating, to which I kindly reminded her that I was about to leave her basic and infantry school at a 6-month commitment, and we barely knew each other. I told her this word for word. Now, here's what he said word for word in quotes. I've had a great time hanging out, so if you're still single when I get back, maybe we'll see where it goes. Dude, I couldn't have said it better myself. I guess I should mention I joined the National Guard, so I'll be returning home after training. Maya was quiet for a second before saying, no, we're dating now. No, we're not. I was kind of floored. I think my jaw dropped, actually. I didn't expect such a brazen response, and she seemed pretty confident that she wanted me around. So I said fine, and that was that. Smack! Dude, already she's calling the shots. You're doing so well up until that point, and now she's calling the shots. You know, what probably drew her to you is that you weren't chasing after her and you're keeping it casual. Now all of a sudden she's gotten some power, and I guarantee in that moment that you agreed to that, she lost respect for you. She's like, oh, here's another one of these guys that can get all P-whipped to me. I F him just one time and boom. So now I'm off to basic training, age 27 at the time, following my path. And now I have this girlfriend I barely know. Yeah, dude. You don't get exclusive with a gal until you've known her easily 5-6 months. And see what she's really like. Not after you banged her a few times and banged her on the first date. That ain't girlfriend material, as you're about to learn. The distraction I told myself I didn't need and would accept. However, I'd find out that Maya was incredibly supportive and attentive during this whole process. I remember riding the bus through the front gates of Fort Benning and thinking, that's the last I'll hear from that girl, but I was very wrong. Once we got onto the base, I went through the already familiar process of reception at the 30th, e.g. orientation, confiscation of contraband, immunizations, uniform, and dog tag issue. The dreaded haircut, I can't even grow any hair anymore, and this was fine until something pretty awful happened. Every group of recruits brought into the fort is given a line number, and that's how the 30th AG organizes and ships out companies for training. At some point, our line number got lost in the system, and my entire line was trapped at 30th AG for 64 days straight. What? After the initial reception was finalized and finished, and we were fully ready to begin training, our days consisted of waking up at 0400, getting our temperature checked, eating, returning to the bays, where we sat inside and were not allowed to go outside or exercise, then getting our temperature checked again at noon, eating and rinse and repeat. Ad nausea, we had several people nearly lost their minds. I thought I was a pretty mentally tough guy, but it definitely took its toll. What the fuck, dude? During our time at reception, we had no phone calls, no mail, no contact with the outside world. I didn't hear from Maya because I wasn't able to. I wasn't seriously committed to the relationship, so it didn't bother me much. I knuckled through about 2 months and then began the 6-month training process. And on day 1, tore my meniscus. I didn't know it yet because I wasn't about to let myself be recycled and start all over again, spending even more time in the hellhole, so I kept quiet about it. Yeah, not good. I received mail from Maya constantly. She did all the typical girlfriend things, spraying the letters with perfume, writing long-winded letters, sending me care packages, what little we could have. We built a bond from a distance. I even got to go home for a block leave in December, and she was there at the airport to pick me up. We spent every day together. I'm not close with any of my family anyway, and she drove me back to when it was time to complete the last 3 months of training. It was a tough goodbye at the airport, and at this point I felt very attached because of the rough time I was having in Fort Benning, being for so long and having a bum knee. Well, dude, she's certainly behaving. The letters, the care packages, being there when you had a break, all that. That's great and all, but, well, we'll see how this goes. Long story short, I limped to the finish line. After returning from block leave, I ended up developing 2 bulging discs in my lower spine and almost tore my Achilles tendon. I know, I'm a mess, but I'm still serving today. Everything just hurts all the time. Yeah, well, once you get to your 40s, there's always something that hurts. And I can't imagine what it's going to be like in your 50s. That's what you get. You spend your whole life working out, doing sports, staying active, being healthy, and the universe rewards you by having a fucked up knee or ankle or elbow or wrist or shoulder or all know. You guys that are active know what I'm talking about here. When I was 37 years old and I was a couple of years into martial arts, there was something new every 6 months. But you adapt and you deal with it. End of fucking story. You know, I'm sure the guys that are watching this are in their 60s and 70s and up are like, stop bitching SSM. Wait till you get to be our age. I'll bitch them. I made it home back to Maya and my regular life. I've had an opportunity to go full-time guard, very rare for private first class, and had great income and benefits. Maya and I continue to get to know each other, party, hook up, and plan what we were going to do next. She was in her senior year of college. I now know that girls in college are just a walking red flag. You bet your ass. She's about to get her teaching license. Oh, Jesus, there's another one. And neither of us wanted to do long distance, so we were wrapping our heads around the idea of moving in together. More onto that later. Smack! You got a relationship with this gal, and you didn't even know her. And you kind of went to basic, like, whatever, I'll see if she's there when I get back. And now you're rushing along, get moving in with her? You're not moving with your girl unless you've been with her for many years. And that is the final test in case you want to marry her, you know? Do what you got to do to make enough money that you don't have to rely on her to help with the bills, or moving with one of your bros or something, you know? That's a final step, guys. Here's a part of the story where everything started to come unglued. After you gave her a serious commitment, like you moving in with her, which gave her certainty, things started to become unglued. Who would have thought? The topic of body count came up. Oh boy. And the way it came up was one day, we were driving through town on our way to our favorite restaurant, and Maya points to an apartment complex nearby and says, I used to do the walk of shame from there every Sunday. I had no idea how to respond. It wasn't something I asked or wanted to know about, but then I couldn't help myself. So I asked who the guy was, and why she would dishonor herself like that. Modern day college girls. She said he was some drug dealer she met at the townie bar. That's what we call the only bar in town the locals hang out at, and the college dominates the entire town. Again, I had no idea what to say in response. I was finding out this amazing gal who has supported me for 8 months of training Been there when I busted my tail, building myself a career was kind of a 304. Dude, she effed you on the first date. What do you expect? I know you want to think like, oh, I'm such a stud. She couldn't keep her hands off me. She couldn't resist my charm. No, that's just how she rolled. And how many other dudes did she hook up with on the first date? Really, you gotta ask yourself. And then she was hooking up with a drug dealer? Oh yeah, girlfriend material. As the conversation continued, I ended up asking what her body count was. And without missing a beat, she replied, oh, probably 80 or more. So how many of you guys watching this right now are in no way in hell believing that 80 is the number? Probably multiply times 3. She was 21 years old at the time. Even if it was 80 at 21 years old, that's still, but we know darn well it's more. And I'm sure there were some 3-somethings in there and G-bangs and other things. And I'm willing to bet you probably she wasn't doing the things, she was doing other things with the drug deal that she wasn't doing with you. My heart started beating really fast and I turned up my nose. But I didn't let her see that I was upset. She knew. We got to the restaurant and met some of her friends there. Yeah, did she sleep with some of those friends? Now stewing on this, I was already in a bad mood. Halfway through lunch, she decides to show me a picture on her phone and asked, am I pretty in this picture? I looked at her phone and said, yeah, you look great. And she says, that's not even me. I looked at her and then looked up and her friends were staring at me awkwardly. I asked, really? And she ignored me. Engaged in conversation with her friends, I asked again, is that really not you? And again, she didn't answer. I threw $20 on the table and got up and left. Well, good, and you should left permanently. So it's no accident that she said that shit to you on the way there about, that was where my walk of shame was, knowing darn well you'd say, what do you mean, honey? And that would bring up that conversation. That was on purpose. And now you're all uncomfortable at this place meeting her friends probably for the first time, and now she's pulling this shit test. Well, I tell you about rushing into relationships. That gives girls confidence that you're really, really into her. And these hoe bags, that, and clearly she is one, gets power. And you also cave to her making a demand that you're going to be in a relationship with. And then you move in with her. That gives girl, the only thing you didn't do that would give her ultimate confidence that she has you is put a ring on her finger. It took about 10 minutes for her to notice I was gone. Really? She just stayed gone permanently. And she came driving down the road and demanded I get in the car. Oh, what would give her the certainty that she can give you demands? Maybe the fact that she's been getting her way with you. I very reluctantly got in. Smack! Oh, now she knows she can boss you around and pee-whip you. I went back to her place. Her place? I thought it was your place. Like you guys moved in together. You tell me you moved into her place? On her terms, her turf? We sat down in her apartment and she said, I ruined the day. Oh, okay. I'd asked why I stormed out like that. I got angry and she told her she made me look like a fool in front of her friends. She, I assume, pretended to have no idea what I was talking about. I explained that she showed me a picture of someone else and supposedly got upset for me for complimenting her. That she ignored me, so I left. I asked what she would do if it was the same thing to her. She explained that was a picture of me. My head was spinning at this point. I said, well, why did you say it wasn't? And she said, I just meant that I don't look like that anymore. Bullshit. She's playing games with you. She's fucking with you. Women don't respect weak guys. And when they throw these shit tests, usually because they're starting to see weakness, and the guy fails them, they lose even more respect and pull more shit tests, and they're usually bigger and bigger. And they're bitchy and difficult to deal with, or a pain in the ass to deal with, etc., etc. To the young gentleman listening to this, I want you to know this is an example of gaslighting. Women do this all the time, even the good ones. To this day, I have no idea why Maya decided to pull that stunt on me. By this point, years later, I just assume she is an undiagnosed sociopath and a narcissist. Perhaps, or because you were acting weak on multiple fronts and giving her what she wants and giving in to her, she's pulling more shit to punish you. Get you to act like a fucking man, put her in her place. What happened to the guy in the beginning that was very dismissive of her and didn't chase after her and all that? She wanted that guy. I'm not saying she's not an a-hole, but there are things you definitely could have handled better. You wrote this for my advice and my opinion, so I'm giving it to you. Anyway, smack time. I stayed with her. Yeah, smack. Now she knows she can treat you like crap and gaslight and be a total BIT, and you're sticking with her. Let me guess what's next. A whole lot less SEX. And the story gets much worse, so buckle up. The next big WTF moment for me was when my unit got word that we were going to deploy. I was pretty iffy about it, not because of but because of my injuries. I was still training with the unit, but they had me working in the TOC on radios, not doing infantry stuff, because I couldn't keep up with my bad knee and spine. I was in physical therapy. Every soldier had to pass the physical health assessment, PHA for short, before deploying, and we hadn't done ours yet. My leadership was telling me that we didn't have enough personnel for me to sit this one out, and would still have to go. So Maya told me one night, and she broke down into tears and said that we might have to split up. Oh, yeah, sure. In hindsight, if not before then, that was a moment I should have left. Gents, if you're in the military and your girl won't stick by you through deployment, she's not the one. You hear this, young guys? Pay attention to this. He says, leave, find another one. And honestly, she'll probably cheat on you while you're gone anyway. We all know that stereotype. It's a stereotype for a reason, and a very trackable statistic in military spouses and girlfriends. But still, I stuck around. Smack! I attended PHA, presented my x-rays and CT scans, and my orders to physical therapy, and the brigade doctor marked me as temporary non-deployable. So me and Maya continued our now clearly toxic relationship. Now Maya's graduation was coming up, and we had about 2 months left. She had already secured a job about 2 hours away in another city. We started making plans to move in together. I found a job doing armed security and left active guard. Very foolish decision since I've corrected. I was miserable. My body hurt. I was missing a combat deployment. He says, yes, we still have combat deployments. We're just not going to talk about where in this story. And my trust in Maya was diminished. My mental health was suffering, and I was becoming codependent. My career wasn't going how I planned it, and she felt like the only thing I could cling to. I know, smacked the probably man card revoked. Well, bro, I smacked you a lot. My hand's getting sore. But okay, you're in a bad place and things weren't going as you planned. That's usually how life goes. But then you got to find a new way, a new path, you know? But sticking with this a-hole, terrible idea. I'm sure she was young. She was young and pretty, and I'm sure the poontang was good at least for a while until you started, letting her boss you around, treat you like crap. But remember, guys, when you behave like a bitch, they're going to treat you like a bitch. And my friend, I'm not sorry to say, you were being a bitch, and you know it. One night I was at Maya's apartment with her, and she comes out dressed to the nines. A very skimpy outfit, lots of makeup. I wasn't aware we had any plans. So I asked her, were we going somewhere? She told me she was going bar hopping with her friends, and that it was a college friends only kind of night. Nope. If we're together, you're not doing the girls' night, certainly not wearing something like that. That's what you should have said. Or at least she should have known that and not wanted to do that. She's finding a replacement. And remember, this is the girl that I've slept with 80 dudes before I was 21. And we all know that number is a bunch of bullshit. So this outfit's her fucking uniform. I was kind of put off. I knew this bothered me tremendously, but I understood we couldn't spend all our time together. Smack! I just hated how she was dressed, and I already felt this pit in my stomach about her past. I went to a friend's house to drink beers and shoot some pool, and just kept thinking about it, on repeat. I guess I forgot to smack you when she revealed that number of 80 dudes, and you didn't, jump out of the car into oncoming traffic, because that would have been better than staying with her. So, you can all imagine me smacking him back for that one. Why are you still with her? I had my first ever actual panic attack. I'm not going to lie, I didn't even believe in panic attacks. I thought people who claimed to have them were lying and being weak. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see straight. I was angry, stressed that my girl was going to cheat on me. Another moment where I should have left, but I was that weak. Why are you getting a panic attack over this piece of ass broad who you barely know and have barely known, right? Were you really in love with her? She sure as hell wasn't in love with you, dude. And I guarantee when you were the first part of basic training, when she was sending you letters and care packages and probably her fucking panties or something like that in the mail, I guarantee you there were other guys sampling her. After that night, I don't think I ever went out with Maya with their friends ever again. I wasn't invited, ever. They went out without me constantly, and she would come back extremely late. I think the record was 5 o'clock in the morning. What I tell you when you start giving a girl so much certainty that you're not going to go anywhere, how she starts to treat you. What I tell you about when you act weak and don't check her, call her on her bullshit, lay out boundaries and terms, and be willing to walk away. She walks all over you. That's right. She's going to go after guys that don't let her walk all over them, and she will let them do whatever they want to her. Well, he knows this. That's why he's sharing the story to help guys out. After the night, I read that part. After the night, I don't think I went out with her again, blah, blah, blah. Came back at 5 in the morning. There was no doubt in my mind that there was physical cheating involved. On one of those outings, I learned that Maya had a coke habit. And I still stay with her. Smack! I'm assuming you mean not Coca-Cola, but you mean the white substance. So graduation comes around. We move a few hours down to the road. Most of her friends get jobs and move another hour away from us. Where I was at, I hated my job, I hated my life, and I didn't trust Maya and felt like I had nobody to lean on or talk about it with. And we had signed a year-long lease together. Smack! So you moved for her. A girl should be moving for a guy. And you're feeling miserable a lot. This is when it's better to be alone than be with somebody that treats you like dog shit. And she treats you like dog shit. But a lot of people cannot be alone. But you were also very young, and you were learning. After only a few weeks, I regretted it and knew I shouldn't be dating her. You think? Or at the very least, we should have been living separately. I mean, if she was worth a damn, we could have done it. Maya would spend most weekends an hour down the road with her friends and spend the night. I felt more alone than I ever had my entire life, but we're about to get to the cherry on top here. Prepare your smacking hand, SSM. Oh, it's ready. Now, guys, this is a long one, so I'm going to wrap this up, this part 1 here to his story. And we're going to do part 2, where things go with her, and I'll be doing more freaking smacking. However, things will start to turn around for our guy here. So stay tuned about an hour or so. I got to take a break now, and you'll hear how things continue on with this very charming lady here, and where our guy finally gets things right and turns things around and all that. See you then.